Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Blog Podcast. Today is Wednesday, June 13th, 2018. Today I'm going to recap last night's baseball action, look ahead to today's action, talk about the World Cup for a little bit that begins tomorrow, do the 2011 NHL ReRaft, discuss a big Major League Baseball injury to one of the past stars of the league, and I'll give out my predictions for the 2018 NHL offseason. Alrighty, here we go. The Yankees defeated the Nationals 3-0 as they improved to 43-19. Washington drops to 36-28. CC Sabathia improves to 4-1. Tanner Roark drops to 3-7. Aroldis Chapman gets his 18th save of the year. Bottom of the second, home run Didi Gregorius, 1-0 Yanks. Sacrifice fly, Austin Romine, 2-0 Yanks. Bottom of the sixth, home run Didi Gregorius, 3-0 Yanks is your final. CC Sabathia, 5 2/3 innings, 4 hits, no earned runs, 3 walks, and 3 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 3.27 ERA. Tanner Roark, 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 3.63 ERA. The Red Sox defeated the Orioles 6-4 as they improved to 46-22. Baltimore drops to 19-47. Eduardo Rodriguez improves to 8-1. David Hess drops to 2-3. Bottom of the first, home run Joey Rickard, 1-0 O's. Top of the second, 2-run home run Rafael Devers, 2-1 Red Sox. Top of the third, home run Andrew Benintendi, 3-1 Red Sox. Bottom of the third, RBI single Danny Valencia makes it a 3-2 game. Top of the fourth, bases loaded walk Andrew Benintendi, 4-2 Sox. Balk by Miguel Castro allows Christian Vasquez to score, 5-2 Red Sox. Top of the fifth, RBI single Christian Vasquez makes it a 6-2 game. Bottom of the ninth, 2-run double Mark Trumbo makes it interesting, 6-4, but the Red Sox hold on. Eduardo Rodriguez, 5 2/3 innings, 8 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 3.64 ERA. David Hess, 3 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 5 earned runs, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 4.13 ERA. The Phillies defeated the Rockies 5-4 as they improved to 34-30. Colorado drops to 32-34. Aaron Nola improves to 8-2. John Gray drops to 6-7. Sir Anthony Dominguez gets his 3rd save of the year. Bottom of the first, 3-run home run Scott Kingery, 3-0 Phillies. Bottom of the third, sacrifice fly Scott Kingery, 4-0 Phillies. Top of the seventh, RBI single Tom Murphy to put the Rockies on the board. Bottom of the eighth, RBI single Hayes Mule Valentine to give the Phillies a 5-1 lead. Top of the ninth, Colorado makes it very interesting. RBI single Tom Murphy makes it 5-2. RBI single Chris Iannetta makes it 5-3. Sacrifice fly DJ LeMahieu makes it 5-4, but the Phillies hold on. Aaron Nola, 6 2/3 innings, 4 hits, an earned run, no walks, 10 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 2.27 ERA. John Gray, 6 innings, 3 hits, 4 earned runs, 4 walks, 10 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 5.68 ERA. The Twins defeated the Tigers 6-4 as they improve to 29-34. Detroit drops to 31-37. Ryan Parsley with the win improves to 1-1. Lewis Coleman drops to 3-1. Fernando Rodney gets his 14th save of the year. Top of the third, sacrifice by Ryan Lamari, 1-0 Twins. Bottom of the fourth, RBI triple Jose Iglesias ties up at 1 apiece. Sacrifice fly Leonis Martin gives the Tigers a 2-1 lead. Top of the seventh, grand slam Erie Adrianza, 5-2 Twins. Bottom of the seventh, infield single Jacoby Jones, 2-run scores on the error by Eduardo Escobar to make it a 5-4 game. Top of the eighth, RBI single Miguel Sano makes it 6-4. That's your final. Jake Odorizzi, 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 4.19 ERA. Blaine Hardy, 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, a walk, and 5 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 3.55 ERA. The big story of this game, Miguel Cabrera leaves the game with a left biceps tendon and is out for the season. That's a big loss for the Tigers. He's the leader of that team. And it hurts his chances, in my opinion, just a little bit to get into the Hall of Fame, although I still believe he's a Hall of Famer at this point. The Marlins defeated the Giants 3-1 as they improved to 25-42. San Fran drops to 33-34. Trevor Richards improves to 1-3. Chris Stratton drops to 7-4. Kyle Barraclough gets his 4th save of the year. Top of the first, RBI ground out Brandon Crawford, 1-0 Giants. Bottom of the third, RBI single Starlin Castro ties up at 1 apiece. 2-run double JT Riddle, 3-1 Marlins is your final. Trevor Richards, 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 4.41 ERA. Chris Stratton, 7 innings, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 4.56 ERA. The Rays defeated the Blue Jays 4-1 as they improved to 31-35. Toronto drops to 30-37. Austin Pruitt improves to 2-3. Jaime Garcia drops to 2-5. Sergio Romo gets his second save of the year. Bottom of the third, 2-run home run. Wilson Ramos, 2-0 Rays. Top of the fifth, RBI ground out. Devin Travis makes it 2-1. Bottom of the sixth, RBI single. Joey Wendell, 3-1 Rays. RBI single, Malik Smith, 4-1 Rays is your final. Ryan Stanek was the opener, 2 innings, no hits, no earned runs, no walks, 3 strikeouts. Leaves the game with an ERA of 2.56. Austin Pruitt in relief, 2 2/3 innings, 4 hits, and a run, no walks, and a strikeout. Leaves the game with a 4.5 ERA. Jaime Garcia, 5 innings, 4 hits, 4 earned runs, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 5.71 ERA. The Braves defeated the Mets 8-2. I had the Braves on the podcast. That was an ESPN game yesterday. They improved to 38-28. The Mets dropped to 28-35. Shane Carl improves to 4-1. Zach Wheeler drops to 2-5. Bottom of the fourth, RBI single by Endir Inciarte, 1-0 Braves. Top of the sixth, 2-run ground rule double, Jay Bruce, 2-1 Mets. Bottom of the sixth, home run Freddie Freeman ties it up at 2 apiece. RBI single, Endir Inciarte, 3-2 Braves. Grand Slam, Ozzie Albies, 7-2 Braves. Bottom of the seventh, RBI double, Nick Markakis, 8-2 Braves. That's your final. Mike Falty-Units, 5 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs, no walks, 6 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 2.16 ERA. He had to leave the game due to injury. Zach Wheeler, 5 2/3 innings, 8 hits, 6 earned runs, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 4.98 ERA. The White Sox defeated the Indians 5-1 as they improved to 23-42. Cleveland drops to 35-30. James Shields improves to 2-7. Adam Plutko drops to 3-1. Joaquin Soria gets his 9th save of the year. Bottom of the first, home run Yan Moncada, 1-0 Sox. Home run Yolmer Sanchez, 2-0 Sox. RBI double Matt Davidson, 3-0 Sox. Bottom of the fifth, RBI double Matt Davidson, 4-0 Sox. RBI double Omar Narvaez, 5-0 Sox. Top of the sixth, sacrifice fly Jose Ramirez, 5-1 is your final. James Shields, his best start of the year, 7 innings, 4 hits, and earned run, no walks, 2 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 4.63 ERA. Adam Plutko, 4 2/3 innings, 8 hits, 5 earned runs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 5.09 ERA. The Brewers defeated the Cubs 4-0 as they improved to 14-27. Chicago drops to 38-26. Chase Anderson improves to 5-5. Tyler Chatwood drops to 3-5. Bottom of the first, 2-run double Travis Shaw, 2-0 Brewers. Bottom of the third, 2-run double Travis Shaw, 4-0 Brewers. That's your final. Chase Anderson, 7 innings, 1 hit, no earned runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 4.13 ERA. Probably his best start of the year. Tyler Chatwood, 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 3.98 ERA. The Reds defeated the Royals 5-1 in 10 innings as they improved to 24-43. Casey drops to 22-45. David Hernandez improves to 2-0. Kevin McCarthy drops to 4-3. Bottom of the fifth, home run Hunter Dozier, 1-0 Royals. Top of the ninth, home run Tucker Barnhart ties up at 1 apiece. Top of the 10th, 3-run triple Joey Votto, 4-1 Reds. RBI single Eugenio Suarez, 5-1 Reds. That's your final. Sal Romano, 8 innings, 4 hits, an earned run, a walk, and 2 strikeouts. That's his best start of the year. Leaves the game with a 5.67 ERA. Ian Kennedy, 8 innings, 3 hits, no earned run, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 5.13 ERA. The Padres defeated the Cardinals 4-2 as they improved to 32-37. St. Louis drops to 36-29. Adam Simber improves to 3-2. Miles McCullough drops to 7-2. Brad Hand gets his 20th save of the year. Top of the fourth, home run Eric Hosmer, 1-0 Padres. 2-run single AJ Ellis, 3-0 Padres. Top of the seventh, RBI ground out Christian Villanueva, 4-0 Padres. Bottom of the seventh, RBI single Marcelo Ozuna, 4-1. RBI ground out Yadier Molina made it 4-2. That's your final. Matt Strom only went 3 innings. Gave up no hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 4 strikeouts. Leaves the game with 2.55 ERA. Wonder if he left the game due to injury. I'm not 100% sure about that. Adam Simber in relief, 3 innings, 1 hit, no earned runs, no walks, 3 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 2.6 ERA. Miles McCullough, 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 2.43 ERA. The Diamondbacks defeated the Pirates 13-8 as they improved to 37-29. Pittsburgh drops to 32-35. Fernando Salas improves to 4-4. Trevor Williams drops to 5-4. Bottom of the first, the Diamondbacks put up a 6 spot. Fielder's choice, Jake Lamb, 1-0. RBI single, John Ryan Murphy, 2-0. 2-run triple, Ketel Marte, 4-0. Ketel Marte scores on the throwing error by Trevor Williams as Gerard Dyson safe at second. 5-0 Diamondbacks. Gerard Dyson scores on the throwing error by Josh Harrison. 6-0 Diamondbacks. Bottom of the third, RBI triple. David Peralta, 7-0 Diamondbacks. Sacrifice fly. Ketel Marte, 8-0 Diamondbacks. Top of the fourth. Pittsburgh makes it a little interesting. Hit by pitch, Jordy Mercer makes it 8-1. Bases loaded walk, Sean Rodriguez makes it 8-2. Sacrifice fly, Josh Harrison makes it 8-3. 3-run home run, Starling Marte makes it 8-6. Bottom of the fourth. 2-run single, Daniel Descalso, 10-6 Diamondbacks. Top of the fifth, RBI groundout, Gregory Polanco makes it 10-7. Top of the seventh, RBI double, Josh Bell makes it 10-8. Bottom of the seventh, 3-run home run, John Jay makes it 13-8. That's your final. Clay Buchholz had his worst start of the year. 4 innings, 7 hits, 5 earned runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 3.21 ERA. Trevor Williams is a pitcher that was off to a great start, finally regressing. 3 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 4.38 ERA. The Astros defeat the Athletics 6-3 as they improve to 43-25. Oakland drops to 34-33. Lance McCullers Jr. improves to 8-3. Daniel Megnan drops to 6-6. Ken Giles gets his 11th save of the year. Bottom of the first, wild pitch by Lance McCullers Jr. allows Dustin Fowler to score. 1-0 A's. Top of the second, home run, Carlos Correa ties up at 1 apiece. 3-run home run, Evan Gattis gives the Astros a 4-1 lead. Bottom of the second, sacrifice fly, Stephen Piscotty makes it a 4-2 game. Top of the fifth, 2-run double, Evan Gattis, 6-2 Astros. Bottom of the eighth, RBI single, Mark Cannon makes it 6-3. That was your final. Lance McCullers Jr., 7 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 3.83 ERA. Daniel Megnan, 4 2/3 innings, 8 hits, 6 earned runs, 4 walks, and a strikeout, leaves the game with an ERA of 3.9. The Mariners defeat the Angels 6-3 as they improve to 43-24. LA drops to 37-31. Mike Leake improves to 7-3. Jaime Barria drops to 5-2. Edwin Diaz gets his 25th save of the year. Bottom of the first, home run Mitch Haniger, 1-0 Mariners. Top of the fifth, home run Mike Trout, ties up at 1 apiece. Bottom of the fifth, another home run by Mitch Haniger, a 2-run shot, 3-1 Mariners. Bottom of the sixth, home run Ryan Healy, 4-1 Mariners. Top of the seventh, another home run for Mike Trout, his second of the game, makes it 4-3. Bottom of the seventh, RBI double, Gene Segura makes it a 5-3 Mariners lead. Bottom of the eighth, another home run for Ryan Healy, 6-3 Mariners is your final. Mike Leake, 6 innings, 4 hits, and earned run, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 4.26 ERA. Jaime Barria, 5 innings, 8 hits, 2 earned runs, no walks, 2 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 2.61 ERA. The Dodgers defeated the Rangers 12-5 as they improve to 34-32. Texas drops to 27-42. Edward Paredes with the win improves to 1-0. Bartolo Colon drops to 3-4. Daniel Corsino with his first save of the year. Bottom of the second, RBI double, Yasiel Puig, 1-0 Dodgers. 2-run home run, Jock Peterson, 3-0 Dodgers. Top of the third, RBI single, Adrian Beltre makes it 3-1. RBI groundout, Joey Gallo makes it 3-2. Bottom of the third, home run, Max Muncy, 4-2 Dodgers. Bottom of the fourth, 2-run home run, Yasiel Puig, 6-2 Dodgers. RBI single, Chris Taylor, 7-2 Dodgers. Fielder's choice, Justin Turner, 8-2 Dodgers. RBI double, Cody Bellinger, 9-2 Dodgers. 2-run single, Yasmani Grandal, 11-2 Dodgers. Top of the fifth, home run, Sin-Soo Choo makes it 11-3. Bottom of the fifth, RBI groundout, Max Muncy, 12-3 Dodgers. Top of the ninth, 2-run single, Jurickson Profar makes it 12-5. But the Dodgers hang on to win. Caleb Ferguson, 4 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 9.53 ERA. So they're doing a sort of opener thing too. Bartolo Colon, 3 1/3 innings, 9 hits, 8 earned runs, a walk, and 3 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 4.94 ERA. Today's games, about to get underway in a couple minutes. You have the Mets and the Braves. Jacob deGrom and Mike Soroka. Blue Jays, Rays. J.A. Happ against Wilmer Font. Font's going to be the Rays opener today. That's a 1 o'clock game. 2 o'clock you have Cubs, Brewers. Mike Montgomery and Julius Chassin. 3 o'clock you have Red Sox, Orioles. Chris Sale against Jeffrey Ramirez. 3:40 Pirates, Diamondbacks. Jameson Taillon and Zach Greinke. 4 o'clock Angels, Mariners. Garrett Richards and Marco Gonzalez. 7 o'clock games. Rockies, Phillies. Tyler Anderson and Nick Pivetta. Nationals, Yankees. Eric Feed and Sonny Gray, ESPN game, so I'm going to pick it. I'm going to say the Nationals come away with the split here in the Bronx. Sonny Gray has not been good at home this year. So give me 6-4 Washington, as the Yankees will threat to win the game, but Washington finds a way to get it done with Sean Doolittle in the closer's role. Twins Tigers, Jose Barrios and Matt Boyd. Giants Marlins, Andrew Suarez and Caleb Smith. 8 o'clock games, Indians White Sox, Trevor Bauer and Dylan Covey. 8:15 Reds Royals, Tyler Mahle and Jason Hamill. Padres Cardinals, Eric Lauer and Luke Weaver. 10 o'clock games, Astros Athletics, Garrett Cole and Paul Blackburn. And Rangers Dodgers, you have Cole Hamels and Kenta Maeda. Quickly about the World Cup, they just awarded the 2026 World Cup to a North America joint of the United States, Mexico, and Canada. Hopefully by the 2026 World Cup, all three of those teams are in it. I know Mexico's in it this year, Canada and the U.S. are not in it this year. And this is the first time that the World Cup will be hosted by 3 nations. I wanted to talk about that on the podcast because that news just broke today. And I'm looking forward to the World Cup, which begins tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. Now I'm going to do my 2011 NHL redraft. I'm going to say the team and the player. Number 1, Oilers, Nikita Kucherov. Kucherov would have been a fun player on the Oilers. He appeared to be a Steeler where Tampa selected him. There's talks about Tampa trading Kucherov this year, which I think is lunacy. But could you imagine Kucherov possibly with Connor McDavid? 2, Avalanche, Mark Scheifele. Scheifele was tremendous this past season on a team that's going to be a Stanley Cup contender for the next couple of years. He certainly would have been a nice fit on the Avs too. 3, Panthers, Johnny Gaudreau. That would have been a nice fit on their top 6. Gaudreau's been a star on the Flames since he's been in the league. Number 4, the Devils, Gabriel Landeskog. Landeskog had a career year on the Avalanche last year. He's a keeper for them long term. He certainly would have been a great fit on New Jersey, would have been a top line player for them. 5, Islanders, William Karlsson. Karlsson had a breakout year on the Vegas Golden Knights last year, and he certainly, if he had panned out like he did on Vegas, would have been a good running mate with John Tavares on that team. 6, Ottawa Senators, Sean Couturier. Couturier had a career year last year on the Flyers. He is, in my opinion, going to be a Flyer for a long time, and he certainly would have been a nice fit on Ottawa as well. 7, Winnipeg Jets, Vincent Trocheck. Trocheck's been a fine player for the Panthers these last couple years. He certainly would have been a nice consolation prize for them in this redraft as Scheifele goes to Colorado. 8, Flyers, Jonathan Huberdeau. That's the Flyers' consolation prize after Couturier goes 6. Huberdeau has been a solid player in his career. He had a career year on the Vegas Golden Knights, and I'm interested to see if he ends up in Vegas long term or not. Number 9, Boston Bruins, Rickard Rakell. Rakell had a breakthrough year on the Ducks last year. He certainly would have been a fine player on the Bruins too, although I could see the Bruins using somebody like Rakell as a trade asset because they have a whole bunch of forwards on that team. 10, Minnesota Wild, Andre Palat. Palat's been a great player on the Lightning these past couple years. He certainly would have been a nice player on the Wild as either a second or third line player. 11, the Avalanche, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Hopkins, when he's healthy, is one of the more underrated players in the league, in my opinion. I think there's a chance that Edmonton finally trades him this offseason. Maybe in a dual package with Milan Lucic, because I know they want to get rid of Lucic. But Nugent-Hopkins would have been a nice fit on the Avs and certainly a consolation prize after Gabriel Landeskog goes to the Devils in the redraft. Number 12, Hurricanes, John Gibson. Gibson would have been their goalie right now, replacing Cam Ward long-term, as he's been one of the more underrated goalies in the league these past couple years for Anaheim. 13, Calgary Flames, Brandon Saad. Sutton had a very dismal season last year, certainly attributed to the Blackhawks missing the playoffs. If I'm Chicago, I try to trade Brandon Saad again, but the case against that is that his trade value is probably low right now, because I think the Blackhawks should be rebuilding right now, and they are a team that's in dire need of young talent. Saad would have been a nice consolation prize for Calgary after Goudreau goes 3 to the Panthers in the redraft. 4, Dallas Stars. JT Miller. Miller's been a player that was a little up and down in his career. Had a career year this past year with the Rangers, and the Rangers took advantage of his trade value and packaged him with Ryan McDonough in the Tampa Bay Lightning trade mid-season. I'm interested to see if he remains in Tampa long term. He certainly would have been a nice player on the Dallas Stars. 15, New York Rangers, Dougie Hamilton. Hamilton would be on their top defensive pairing right now because they are in dire need of defense after trading away Ryan McDonough in the trade deadline and getting rid of Dan Girardi last summer. He'd be a nice fit. Hamilton was a solid player on the Bruins, and then they traded him to Calgary, took advantage of his trade value, and he's been okay on Calgary. And I don't think he's going to be in Calgary long term because I know they love Mark Giordano, and Hamilton is still pretty young, and I could see Calgary trying to get something for him. 16, Buffalo Sabres, Mika Zibanejad. Zibanejad had his best year of his career, in my opinion, last year. He wasn't healthy for the whole year, but he was tremendous. The Rangers did a great job in acquiring him for Derek Brassard. And Zibanejad, I think, is going to be a Ranger for a while. I think he's a part of the rebuild going forward if they decide to go that route. 17, Montreal Canadiens, Vladislav Nemesnikov. Nemesnikov's a solid player. He was in the trade that got the Rangers I believe it's the 28th pick in the draft. And he did not fare out well with the Rangers, so I won't be surprised if they ship him again. He was having a career year on the Lightning. Lightning took advantage of his trade value and shipped him to New York with their first round pick to get JT Miller and Ryan McDonough. Nemesnikov would have been an interesting fit on Montreal as they are in dire need of forwards there. 18, the Blackhawks, Philip Deneau. Deneau's a solid player. He's been a solid player for the Habs of late, and he would have been a nice role player on the Blackhawks when they were a Stanley Cup contender. 19, the Oilers, Boone Jenner. Jenner's a solid role player. He would have been a solid role player, maybe top 6 guy for the Oilers. 20, Coyotes, Victor Rask. Rask is a solid role player, and he would have been probably a top 6 guy in the Coyotes. 21, Senators, Andrew Shaw. Shaw was a solid role player when the Blackhawks won a couple of those cups, and then he was on the Canadiens, was a solid player there. He would have been a nice piece on that Senators team to make the Eastern Finals in 2017. Probably would be a trade asset for them right now as they are enduring a rebuild. 22, Toronto Maple Leafs, Juan Gabriel Pageau. Pageau's a solid role player, and he would have been a solid role player on the Maple Leafs, probably a bottom 6 forward. 23, Pittsburgh Penguins, Sven Bartechy. Bartechy's been a solid role player with the Canucks. I don't know if he's there long term. 24, Ottawa Senators, Jonas Brodin. Brodin is somebody that's been a solid role player for the Minnesota Wild, and he certainly would be a top 4 defenseman on the Sens. 25, Toronto Maple Leafs, Oscar Klefbom. Klefbom's been a solid player on the Oilers. He would have been a solid player on Toronto too. 26, Blackhawks, Nathan Beaulieu. He's a solid role player on the Sabres. He would have been fine on the Blackhawks. 27, Tampa Bay Lightning, Blake Coleman. Coleman's a solid role player. He would have been somebody that I don't know would have had a spot on the Lightning because that roster's loaded. 28th, the Minnesota Wild, Joel Armia, solid role player on the Jets. He certainly would have been a nice fit on Minnesota's roster. 29, Vancouver Canucks, Ryan Strome. Remember when Strome had that breakout year? Then the Islanders traded him away. He was not very good with the Oilers, and maybe if he was on a team like the Canucks that lacks like a top option, maybe he would have been a better fit in Vancouver. 23, Anaheim Ducks, Stefan Noesen, solid role player on New Jersey. He would have been a bottom six forward on the Ducks. That's it for the redraft. Now I'm going to make predictions for the NHL offseason. There's going to be a lot of action, and these are not just necessarily free agency picks. These are trade predictions and stuff that I think could happen at the draft. Anaheim Ducks, I think they trade one of their defensemen. They can't keep everybody. They're a team that's aging from a standpoint of forwards, and I won't be surprised if they package one of their young defensemen and a draft pick to try to move up in the draft, or even try to trade one of their young defensemen to try to get a young player or a young forward in particular that's in change of a scenery type of player that could use that. Arizona Coyotes, I think they drafted a defenseman with the 5th overall pick. I think that's almost a lock. They need somebody long-term to go with the newly, freshly extended Olivier Ekman-Larsson. Ekman-Larsson is no longer on the trade block as Arizona smartly locked him up long-term. Arizona is a team that needs to keep their assets and try to build a winner. Boston Bruins, I think they'll re-sign Rick Nash. Not that crazy of a thought. There's thought that he might go back to the New York Rangers, but I think Boston tries to keep him as a veteran presence in that locker room. Buffalo Sabres, I think they trade Ryan O'Reilly. That's a name that I've heard a lot in the trade mill, and that makes sense for them. Calgary, I think they'll sign Cam Ward. Cam Ward's old, and I think Calgary needs a veteran goaltender to go with Brian Elliott, as Elliott really hasn't panned out with the Flames. Carolina Hurricanes, I think they trade Noah Hanifin. Hanifin, somebody whose name's in the rumor mill. They have a lot of young defensemen, and Hanifin has the most value. Chicago Blackhawks, I think they trade the 27th pick in the draft to either try to move up or to try to improve their team. But I personally think that they shouldn't do that because I think that's a team that really missed, or not really missed their window, but I think their window to win a Stanley Cup is closed as they missed the postseason last year, and there are a lot of teams in the Western Conference on the rise, such as the Vegas Golden Knights and the Winnipeg Jets. I think the St. Louis Blues can get back into contention this upcoming season. I also think that the Minnesota Wild can get themselves better, the Dallas Stars, and I think Chicago is heading in the wrong direction. They have a lot of old guys on that team. But I think they're desperate, and I think they'll trade the 27th pick to try to get a player that's going to try to help them win, although I do not think that's the right move for them. Colorado Avalanche, I think they'll sign Ian Cole in free agency. They need help on the back end, and Cole would be a nice fit, a nice veteran for a young team that's on the rise in the West. Columbus Blue Jackets, I think they signed David Perron. Perron would be a nice role player for them. Dallas Stars, I think they'll sign Mike Green in free agency. They need a veteran defenseman. Green would certainly be a nice fit for them. The Detroit Red Wings, I think they'll trade the 30th pick, whether that's to get a player that can help them win now or accelerate the rebuild a little bit, or is it trading back to get more assets or trading up to draft somebody in particular. So that scenario can be in play for a couple different scenarios for the Red Wings. The Edmonton Oilers, I think they'll sign Jack Johnson in free agency. They need a veteran defenseman. Jackson would be a nice fit. The Florida Panthers, I think they'll sign Joel Ward. I just think that that's a great fit for Ward, a team that I think could be a playoff team next season in the East. The Los Angeles Kings, I think they'll sign Matt Reed in free agency. That would be a nice fit as like a bottom six forward. The Minnesota Wild, this is a wild prediction, but I'm just going to go with it. I think they'll trade for Max Pacioretty of the Montreal Canadiens, and that's my prediction for the Canadiens, that they'll trade Max Pacioretty. And not only do I think they'll trade Pacioretty, I think they'll also trade Alex Galchenyuk, but I don't know who would be the team to acquire Galchenyuk. Pacioretty would be a great top 6 guy on the Minnesota Wild. The Predators, I think they trade one of their defensemen. I do not think it'll be Roman Josi. I think there's a chance they trade PK Subban to try to get some picks. I think that's a team that's window is closing, but I think that they're trying to extend that window. So I think they'll trade one of their defensemen to get help forward-wise, as Mike Fisher's retired and a couple other guys that they're trying to replace in their forward corps. So I think they trade one of their defensemen and try to get younger a little bit. New Jersey Devils, I think they'll sign John Carlson in free agency. That's a bit of a wild prediction too. But the Devils have a need on defense. They're a team on the rise in the Eastern Conference. Carlson would be a nice fit to go with Sami Vatanen on their top pairing. Islanders, I think they get Philip Garbauer. Garbauer's a solid backup goaltender, and they need a starting goalie, and Garbauer seems like a logical fit. The New York Rangers, I think they'll trade Matt Zuccarello. They have a ton of assets, and Zuccarello's a guy that I can see somebody overpaying for. Maybe New York gets another first-round pick. Maybe New York gets a couple seconds. But I could totally see somebody overpaying for Matt Zuccarello in a trade. Ottawa Senators, I think they trade both Erik Karlsson and Mike Hoffman. We all know that situation that's going on between those two players. I barely talked about it on my podcast if I didn't talk about it. Erik Karlsson filed lawsuit against Mike Hoffman's wife because Hoffman's wife was insulting Karlsson and his wife for making fun of their stillborn child. That's an ugly story, and if I'm the Senators, I'd trade both of those guys. Karlsson's going to get them back a ton, and Hoffman, I think, will get them back some value as well. Philadelphia Flyers, I think they trade one of their first-round picks. They have a lottery pick, and they also have, I believe, the 19th pick. I think they trade one of those picks to either move up or move down. Maybe they trade both of those picks to move up. Maybe they trade back with the 19th. Maybe they trade the 13th to try to get in the sweepstakes for Erik Karlsson, because I think that's a dark horse team to trade for him because they have a lot of assets. Pittsburgh Penguins, I think they signed Jake Beagle away from the Washington Capitals. I think Beagle would be a nice fit in Pittsburgh. They've lost a couple of role players this past year in free agency. Beagle would be a nice fit in Pittsburgh. And I pretty much gave away my prediction for the Capitals. I said they'd lose both Jay Beagle and John Carlson in free agency. But a bonus prediction for the Capitals is I think they'll bring back Barry Trotz, and he'll become the highest paid coach in the league. 24 San Jose Sharks, I think they'll sign James Van Riemsdyk. I just think this is a logical fit. The Maple Leafs don't need Van Riemsdyk because they have enough on the wing, and I think they're in the hunt for another big name they'll get to eventually on this podcast, and I really think that Van Riemsdyk would be a nice fit in San Jose, as a couple of their core players are aging and they like to get a little younger. St. Louis Blues, I think they trade for Mike Hoffman. I just think that's a logical fit. He could fit in their second or third line, and I just like the destination for him. Tampa Bay Lightning, I think they trade one of their big-name forwards, not named Steven Stamkos. They are almost against the cap. I don't see them trading Stamkos. Maybe it's Nikita Kucherov. Maybe it's somebody like Braden Point, whose value is really, really high. But I don't think it'll be Point. But if I had to guess who it is, it's probably Nikita Kucherov, whose value couldn't be higher right now. 27 Toronto Maple Leafs, I think they'll sign John Tavares in free agency. I think they are about ready to make a big move. I think that's it. And they'll instantly become one of, if not the favorite in the Eastern Conference to go to the Stanley Cup Final. I think the Maple Leafs are also in play for Erik Karlsson and John Carlson as well. I think they'll get a big name. John Tavares seems like a logical fit, as he and Austin Matthews will make a deadly center combination. And they'll have their version of Crosby Malkin, except younger. Vancouver Canucks, I think they'll draft a defenseman with the 7th overall pick. That makes the most sense. I've had forwards mocked going 7th, but they need a defenseman, and I think they'll draft a defenseman. Vegas Golden Knights, I think they trade for Erik Karlsson. They were rumored to be in the conversation at the deadline. George McPhee had an offer, but Ottawa denied it. I think he'll sweeten that pot a little bit, McPhee, and Karlsson will join a team that is coming off their inaugural season that saw them in the Stanley Cup Final. I think that would be a tremendous get for the Vegas Golden Knights. I said Washington's prediction already. Winnipeg Jets, I think they'll re-sign Paul Stastny. Stastny was a good role player for them. When they traded for him at the deadline, they traded the first-round pick to get him. I think they bring him back. I think that in Boston with Rick Nash, I think they'll bring back those guys. And those guys will be with those respective teams long term. That's it for the podcast today. I'll be back tomorrow recapping all the baseball, doing my NBA offseason predictions. That's going to be fun. I'll be doing an NBA mock draft tomorrow as well, and I'll talk about the FIFA a little bit as well. I hope you guys have a great day, everybody.